Okay, I've been involved in a family law case in Shasta County Superior Court for the past 7 years. And I think it's important for anyone that sees this video or anyone to understand the importance of a federal investigation into this case because of the forgery and because of the fraud and defrauding the government and basically lying to government agencies and government officials, as well as lying to federal law enforcement and federal government agencies about this case and about what had happened to me and my kids in Shasta County Superior Court. And so what's really important in this case and what you need to understand is I have copies of the case files from Shasta County Superior Court prior to the new courthouse being built, okay? That's important because the new courthouse has an updated scanning system that uploads all these case files into a statewide database system in California, okay? And so anything prior to that that was changed, I'm the only one that should have record of that, unless there's copies somewhere else of these case files. I would be the only person that would have documentation of everything. And I'll just prove that to you right now. Like if you see those two holes right there, okay, that's the old case filing system. And basically when you file paperwork in Shasta County Superior Court at the clerk's office, they go over your paperwork, make sure that it's legally correct, and then they stamp it and they give you a copy back. And then that gets filed into the case files, okay? The way that the old filing system is they use the manual case file, I guess you could say, that they put the paperwork in, and those two holes right there, that basically is the proof right there, representation that this was filed in the case file in our family law case in Shasta County Superior Court. So this is a copy of that, and the reason why you would know that's a copy is because these holes right here, you see those holes and the copy marks, right? That means that this paper that originally came from the case file. And because of the forgery and because these judges basically trying to avoid federal investigation and corrupt district attorney's office Stephanie Bridget and corrupt judges Judge Gibson, Kennedy, and Flynn have been avoiding federal investigation, these documents right here, they probably won't be in the case file, or they'll have a version of it that looks something similar. And we just had court the other day, and the judge asked me if I had filed dissolution of marriage in Shasta County. And I said no. I said, why would I file for dissolution of marriage in Shasta County? We didn't live here in Shasta County. We lived in Sacramento County, and that's what I've been fighting with you guys about this entire time, is jurisdiction over this case. And I said that I had filed divorce back in October 6th, 2016. So I would have no reason to file divorce in Shasta County or dissolution of marriage because I'd already filed it. And I've been trying to get this case to go back to Sacramento for the past 7 years. And the judge said, well, that was a long time ago. That was 7 years ago. Why does that matter? Well, the main reason why it matters to me is that we lived in Sacramento County, but the obvious reason would be the fact that these documents have been changed and altered. And so anything in Shasta County at this point is basically forged documents and illegally filed paperwork, right? That makes sense, right? It's illegally filed and it's illegally obtained jurisdiction and illegally obtained custody of my children because these documents are changed, right? And so I keep saying that I have evidence of that, right? So even like this is like a property declaration, and this is part of the dissolution of marriage paperwork, okay? And you'll see down here, you'll see like her name typed, and you'll see who approves these documents, right? You'll see that all that information on these papers, right? And it's very clear, like the Judicial Council of the state of California, like they approve these documents, all right? And then so just as something as simple as information and instructions on completing this form, that was filed in our case file, okay? It was filed in the case file, and the reason why I know that for sure and I have documentation of that is these two holes. Okay, so what I was asking for with federal investigation or with investigation into this case is I was asking for somebody to come over to my house or meet up somewhere or somewhere safe and get these documents from me. And I'd prefer it to be federal law enforcement because local law enforcement has been aware of this and they've been avoiding prosecution. So I don't really trust the district attorney's office in Shasta County anymore, and I definitely don't trust any of these judges anymore, and I don't trust local law enforcement anymore, because I brought this up to local law enforcement several times, and nobody's come over to my house to look at the documentation of forgery. Okay, so these documents here that I'm showing you here, they have been forged. Okay, they've been illegally filed, and then this is the evidence of that. This right here, this copy of this paper is the evidence of that. And if you get the case file from Shasta County, okay, and you hold that case file and you put it aside and you open that up, all right, and we go through it together and we look for these documents in there, and if they're not in there anymore, okay, then that's a big problem, because these were legally filed in Shasta County Superior Court by the clerk's office. Okay, every clerk that's touched these case files, they have looked through these paperwork and made sure that it was all legal. And there's only a few people that would have access to case files, to grab a case file and be able to go through it and look at all these things. That would be judges or somebody like, you know, high up in the clerk's office, like the chief, the director of the clerk's office, or the chief clerk, something like that. You like normal employees and the clerks in the clerk's office, they wouldn't have access to this. They just file the paperwork into your case file and that's it. So the people that would have access to this would be the judges, and like I said before, the judges responsible for changing these records. And so this is the evidence of that. You know, like, look at all the papers that I have this mark on the top where, like, I don't know if you could see it, it's kind of vague in some spots, like right there, right? And this is evidence of that. So if you sat down and you compared this case file, or the documents that I have, to what is in the case file right now, and if there's anything that's different or changed, right, then that's documentation of forgery, documentation of fraud, lying to the government, right, lying to the federal government, lying to federal government agencies. I asked for this case to be investigated by the district attorney's office. I'll show you that paperwork in a second. Lying to the district attorney's office, and then the district attorney's been lying to the state attorney general's office, Rob Bonta, because I asked specifically for this case to be investigated by the state of California, specifically. Okay, so any of these signatures, you know, whether or not that is Kendra's signature, you know what I mean? Like, I understand, like, I don't, you know, I have several different versions of her signature, so I don't think that this is hers. But even still, this is illegally filed paperwork. Because look, if you see those punch holes and you see her signature on the paperwork, right? But then this paperwork is not in the exact case file as of right now at this point, and I have documentation of that, then that is forgery. And the only people that would be responsible for that would be the judges involved in this case. So I've asked several times for Judge Gibson, because he's the main judge for this case. I've asked several times for him to be arrested and thrown in jail for violation of my civil rights, as well as plenty of violations of the penal code. But then not only that, but like the fact that they were aware of this. So this says right here: contempt of court orders, investigation into medical records, and child service reports. Okay, and then this is dated by him. Look, it says date right here, stamp, and then signed by him or dated by him, stamped. And then what it says right here is it says request is vague as to facts. Okay, but this is the worst part about this. This judge is the one that's been doing it. Okay, and I have documentation of that. So when I gave him this paperwork, I basically told him straight up, like, I know what you did, I know what happened, and I wanted him to take accountability for it. Because everything that's happened to my kids in Shasta County from this point forward, you know, from October 4th, 2016 to this point is his responsibility. And it's his responsibility because he's the one that's made these decisions. Okay, but not only that, but he's also the one that's been changing these records. You know, so I have the documentation of that. Like I said, this would be another copy from the case file. The clerk's office in Shasta County has been very, very helpful and very supportive. Every time I've went in there, they've tried to help me get case files and copies of case files. I just recently got arrested again, thrown in jail again for this case, and they blamed me for abusing my kids, and that never happened. And the reason why I'm getting blamed for that, and they're making police reports for that, and child service reports is because they're trying to avoid going to prison for changing these records and abduction. Okay, so it says recent violation of court orders, contempt of court orders, erratic behavior, recent disclosure of children's medical history and records of neglect. That is against my ex-wife. And I'm telling this judge this on August 18th, 2021. That's months before they took my two youngest kids and months before they filed any other paperwork. But then not only that, but I know for a fact that he was aware of this paperwork because he's the one that dated it and signed it, and then also took it out of the recent case file. So if you look through the case file right now, I promise you this paperwork right here will not be in there. And they also changed I noticed too, they changed the case docket information, the court proceedings, right? And I have evidence of that as well. Like I printed out a case docket from 2021 and 2020. So I have a case docket from 20 and a case docket from 2021. And this particular court date that we had for this paperwork is on there. And then the most recent one that's on there now online, it's not on there. So I brought this up, and I brought this up in court again last week when we went for child support, because all this paperwork and everything that's been filed in California for custody of my kids, or for, to make legal decisions, has been based off of these documents, okay? And not these documents that I have in my home, but the documents that are in the case file as of right now. And that's illegally filed paperwork. Like in my opinion, or the way that I look at it, is like everything that's been filed in Shasta County is illegal, right? So I've been in an argument with the district attorney's office and child services about them being involved in my kids' lives, and I don't know where my kids are at. I have no idea where my kids are right now. Okay, and that's scary for me as a dad, because I know my kids, my oldest son, he knows what's happening. Okay, and he's terrified because he knows exactly what happened, and he knows that this judge forged documents. And then I got arrested, and they basically said that I was talking about government conspiracies and that the government was kidnapping kids and all this shit. And like I was blown away because I never said any of that. All I said was that this judge was forging documents and signatures and abducted my kids. And that makes sense to me because I'm looking at the documents right now. That's my reality, is these documents right here, okay? My reality is that there's proof and evidence right here that this was filed in the case file, okay? And I know for a fact that I filed it, all right? And the things that I had asked for, it says, I believe I've been blocked from access to my children's Kaiser Permanente and Shasta Community Health medical records, and proof of neglect and abuse dating back to 2016. I mean, that's huge, right? I'm asking for investigation into this, the forgery, and investigation into medical records and medical history, because that's going to show you evidence of abuse and neglect that's been happening for the past 6-7 years. And who's responsible for that? Well, obviously, my ex-wife is responsible, as well as the people that have been hurting my children, right, or abusing my children. But not only that, but the district attorney's office for arresting me every time and throwing me in jail for no reason, and then this judge who keeps making these decisions, legal decisions that are illegal. So any judge that makes a decision on this case, it's illegal. It's illegally filed paperwork. How can you make a legal decision based on a case that is forged documents and signatures, and that I have evidence of that? So if let's say a federal investigator came up here, or a federal government agency, right? And they were like, okay, we're going to justify having a federal investigation into this case, right? Abduction case or whatever it is, right? Maybe it's a fraud case. Well, they're going to be looking at the case files in Shasta County Superior Court at this moment. And that doesn't work out, man, because those files have been changed and altered and modified to avoid investigation. And this judge knows that. This Judge Gibson knows that. And he's been arguing, I swear, he's been arguing with the entire state of California and the federal government over investigation into this case for the past 7 years. It's sad, dude, because he's not, and all I wanted was for him to take responsibility for what happened to my kids, And it's sad, is because he is the one, him and his buddies, his co-conspirators, are the ones that are guilty. And it's not judicial misconduct when you're forging documents and signatures, fraudulently claims against the government. I mean, you're getting child support for this case. You're getting government assistance and government funding, as well as wasting millions of dollars of taxpayer money of all these employees that are working for the government and doing what they're told, or doing by law what they're supposed to do, right? But then by law, this paperwork is forged. It's not legal paperwork. Okay, and then that's what I've been saying for the past 7 years, man. I bring it up in court every time. So then last time we went to court, they showed me some paperwork that was changed recently, and the judge asked me. She said, "Did you fill out a dissolution of marriage in Shasta County in 2020?" And I said, "No." And she showed me the paperwork, and I didn't recognize it. I didn't see it. I've never seen it before, but it has my signature on it, okay, or something similar to my signature. And I told her in the court that I said, "This is wrong. This is not. I didn't file this." And I said, and that's what I've been talking about and asking for investigation, okay? And the judge said, "Are you okay? Do you need help, like mental help? Because I'm showing you these documents that I have in my case file, and she said, "That's my reality." And I said, "Well, your reality's wrong, like your reality's illegal." And she's asked me if I had like some type of learning disability where I didn't understand the concept of why this paperwork in the case file is what she's making her decisions off of. And I said, "No," I said, "I don't have a learning disability at all." I said, "As a matter of fact, I just have the documents at home that would prove that those case files are illegally filed and paperwork." You know what I mean? And I said, and I've been asking for investigation by the district attorney's office in Shasta County, and they know that, and they refused to investigate. And then the response, I mean, this is the funniest part, but the response 2 or 3 years ago when I asked for investigation was, wait until next election. And that's what they said in Shasta County. Wait until next election, and then they won't have to be held accountable or liable. Like they won't be held responsible by next election. And I got furious about it. I was pissed because I was like, that's not fair. It's not accurate. And not only that, but you're saying basically that this administration now is okay with you guys forging documents and signatures and kidnapping children. And that's wrong, And so I've been asking for help from federal law enforcement. I'm sure that's been a huge argument over jurisdiction. And if there's enough evidence to justify that decision, as well as I've been asking, I've messaged the vice president several times online, just contact, the vice president and tell her my side of the story here and ask for help, and I'm in my opinion, or my, my life experience or my reality, right? I'm pretty sure that this administration cares about human trafficking, cares about abduction, okay, and cares about kids. And I've been asking for that help. And there's been a huge argument over judicial decisions and jurisdiction and judicial misconduct and the proper legal process to, report misconduct, which would be, filing a complaint at the Judicial Council Performance. I've done that. And the problem is that those people that are to investigate misconduct, they're going to go through those case files that they have possession of. And that's not realistic. Okay, see the copy holes right here? That's not realistic. You would have to go through these case files and compare it with the other ones. And that's what this judge has been avoiding. And the district attorney's office, And so I firmly believe that the state of California, I don't think that they're aware of this. Like to the extent to where, that my kids were basically abducted again last year and I was arrested again last year. And when I tell people that I was arrested for no reason, like they have police reports and they have other, I guess types of, evidence against me. So when I say I was arrested for no reason, they laugh and they go, "Oh, okay, that's what everybody says." But my point is like, no, I was arrested for no reason because these documents are forged. So I shouldn't even be here right now. Like I shouldn't be living in Shasta County. My kids shouldn't be separated from me. I shouldn't be fighting with the district attorney's office on the phone or fighting with these judges in court. I shouldn't, I shouldn't have to hear a social worker talk about my son's testimony against me or narrative against me, because all of that is based off of these documents. That's their legal premise or their legal argument into being involved in my children's life right now. And that's not it's not legally filed. It's not legal documentation. The only legal documentation for this case that was filed and that didn't get altered or changed is the custody paperwork that I filed in Sacramento County. I mean, even the two restraining orders. There's a restraining order that's filed in Shasta County and a restraining order that's filed in Sacramento County. That's illegally filed paperwork. You get what I'm saying? And then not only that, but they've said some nasty things about me, really gross and nasty things about me to manipulate people not to help me. So this is turned into a domestic violence case, and I'm the domestic violence abuser and stalker and harasser of my ex-wife, and none of that's true. And it hasn't been true for the past 7 years. But not only that, but it's that narrative or whatever, that argument is based off of documents that were filed in Shasta County illegally. Okay, and when I say illegally, it doesn't matter if a judge signs it and approves it and grants it or not. It doesn't matter. And the reason why is because those case files have been altered and changed from the very beginning. Things have been taken out, put back in. Things have been added. Signatures have been changed. The narrative has been changed. And I was trying to explain that to the state attorney general's office. Unfortunately, they can't give you legal advice. But before, like 3 years ago, when I got arrested, I was basically providing all this information to the state and trying to get a federal investigation into this case. So right now I'm at home, right? Like I'm at home, I'm out of jail, I haven't seen my kids for over a year. And I sure would like to know if they're still alive and if they're okay and how they feel about all this. I heard my oldest son has either got arrested for something or I heard my son got arrested for trying to boost a car and get back home. And I also heard that he might be in the mental hospital right now because he was telling everybody the same thing I was telling him. I'm telling everybody, right? And I showed my son the documents and everything. And my son's been saying that, basically these corrupt police officers and judges in Shasta County are holding them hostage and detained him illegally. And they're basically laughing at him and saying, oh, your dad taught you that. Oh, you're a conspiracy guy. Oh, the government doesn't kidnap kids. And I know that. I know that for a fact the government doesn't kidnap kids, but these people do. And these people are guilty of that. And so in my opinion, and I think legally correct opinion, is that the only way to handle this case is come up here, Shasta County, arrest every single person that's involved in this case without question, without asking any questions, arrest everybody that's involved in this case and release my kids from confinement, release my kids from being abducted and kidnapped, bring them home to me, and then allow me to talk to my kids and find out what happened. And then we'll go to the state attorney general's office or federal law enforcement and get help. That would be the only way to handle this case, because anybody in Shasta County that has, has been involved in my kids' lives, legally or illegally, that is based off of illegally filed paperwork. So even if the state of California came up here and took my kids, right, and the state attorney general's office got involved, right, that's still illegal to intervene in my life, in my kids' lives. Because what are you basing your decision off of? Because if you're basing your decision off of, human trafficking or let's say kidnapping or abduction, right? Then my kids were abducted from me, no one else. Okay, and then my kids would be reunited with me, and we would be able to get help with this case. But unless all these people get arrested here, in the next, I'd say, a few days or so, like basically they're destroying evidence, they're destroying documents. They've been doing that for years. They've tried, I've been almost killed several times. They tried to stab me in a grocery store, almost was killed. And I'm afraid, terrified of leaving my house because of all the people that are involved in this case. And so I know it sounds paranoid, but that's my life right now. Like the fact that I have these documents and I've been asking for everything to be reinstated. It says litigation and damages assets be determined by new legal counsel. I'm asking for legal counsel being paid for by the state because I'm a victim. It says without interest of other parties or family side. So basically a legal counsel that's objective and looks at this case from an outside opinion and not from either government or non-government entities. Because the people that were perpetrated the abduction of my kids and the people that are committing criminal activity happen to be government employees, but they're not legal decisions. They're illegal decisions. Thank you. God bless.